Today's episode of the Tourpreneur podcast is kindly sponsored by Checkfront, the booking platform trusted by over 5,000 tour and activity operators around the world. This month, Checkfront is offering an exclusive 90-day free trial for tourpreneurs. Find out more at checkfront.com/tourpreneur.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
And welcome to day 29 of the 30-day Tour Operator Challenge. The finishing line is almost upon us. Welcome back to Tourpreneur Ryan of Checkfront. How are you, Ryan?
Doing good, Shane. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about today's topic, today's challenge. What have you got for us?
Today's challenge is, I think, one that everyone can learn from, and that is to level up your skills. It's a broad topic, but the concept is, as a tour operator, there's tons of tour operators, especially when they're starting out, that are wearing lots of hats. They might be the guide and the owner and the marketing manager and the accountant. And admittedly, some operators might not be as strong in some of these areas as they maybe would like to be. So today is to sign up for, there's lots of online resources. You can also reach out to a community and find a mentor and kind of build a connection that way and learn if you're more of an in-person learner or a remote in-person learner these days, I guess. You can, kind of reach out. And there's some great tools online that can help us with that.
Yeah, I would say as well, we talked about Facebook groups earlier on in a challenge, is go on to some of the tour operator Facebook groups and say something like, hey, I did this myself during lockdown. I said, I need to learn Canva. I have time to do it now. Where do I go? And then somebody will say, oh, this Udemy course was really good, or this person's courses are really good, and ask around for that. And I guess also to kind of really have a sit down and think like, okay, where do I need to improve my skills? Where have I never really had the time in the past to sit down and study something? It could be iPhone photography. We talked about that in an earlier challenge. I mean, these smartphones are incredible in terms of what they can do, as are some of the apps you can buy with filters and all sorts that are out there. So, or even, myself having to learn iMovie recently, I'm still not great at it, but, I could pick out a course and learn iMovie. That's something that comes free on my Mac, and I could actually learn how to put my videos of the podcast together better. So I think leveling up skills, particularly where we're weak right now. And I think it's fair to say most of us don't have money to outsource and hire, a Facebook guru or someone who's, really good with UX or whatever it may be. A lot of these things we can learn ourselves now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you actually touched on a few tools that I really like. Canva, I find is super user-friendly. It's an easy one because the templates they provide. And if you have your own photos. Yeah.
You say it's easy, but I did find, and maybe it's just me, but...
Well, maybe it's just me.
No. Now I find it easy, but I did have to kind of like play around with it and take time to play around with it and not put myself under pressure. Now I can knock something out in like minutes. Whereas when I first started, there's still a bit of a learn. And that's what I think when we're busy leading tours and running our businesses, we don't have time for that. But right now, or as we go into holiday period, we do have time to like just sit down and say, I'm going to spend 2 hours on this, and I'm going to do this course on Udemy or wherever it may be, and I'm going to finally learn the basics of this system.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So Udemy is a great marketplace. If people that are not marketplace, but education platform.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, and you can learn things like accounting, marketing, Google Analytics is a more challenging one to learn, but it's also very helpful. Another one that I recently learned about and I've really kind of dove into is the Trip School. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, Shane.
Oh, yes. Mitch and Alan. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got, workshops, courses, so that tour operators can learn about some of the best practices from other operators, which is, I think, is some of the coolest things to learn from your peers. So.
Yeah, I actually embarked on their How to Start a Tour Business course. It was $600, and they moved it online, obviously, because of lockdown. In that 3 weeks, I still have days I've got to go back and study and watch, because they crammed so much into that three weeks. It was really tiring in a good way, because they just put so much into it.
Yeah, it's definitely good to take some notes while you're doing these types of courses, so you have a reference. And then as well, if you ever do, in the future hire And, as if tour operator ever ends up hiring, an accountant or a marketing person, they can have, or maybe it's more of a junior person because it's the first time they're hiring a marketing manager. They can have some resources available for training, which is, a huge passion of mine, obviously. Yeah.
Well, and we're talking about all the fun stuff here, like Canva and digital marketing, but of course, you've got links here to accounting and financial statement analysis, something that I really dislike, but it's important for us to learn. So that's what I mean about where's our gaps. Because even my feeling, Ryan, is even if when we start getting revenues, but I'm going to hire an accountant or somebody when I'm earning revenue. But right now, if you learn this, what it means is that when you do hire that person, A, you'll be able to find out pretty quickly if they actually know what they're doing. And B, you'll have a much better relationship with that expert because you understand the terminology, the landscape, because you have a bit of a background in it. So I think even if you are going to hire people in these areas, it's good to have a basic grasp of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point to make.
Yeah, I'm all about learning. Always be learning. Day 29, level up your skills. Ryan, thanks a million for coming on this month. The 30-day challenge has just flown by, and I really appreciate your contributions and your guidance during some of these challenges.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.